Later that night, Gabriel was lying in bed asleep. Mother and I knelt by the fire, silent as we tried to keep warm. Nights became cold, eerily cold. Howls and wails from Zagerah reverberated through the night air, and I shuddered to think of what horrors existed inside the prison. Did Matt get taken? I glanced up from where I stirred the soup. Mother nodded. Venice is a wreck, after her husband was taken 2 years ago. I swallowed. She has no one. Mother nodded, running a hand through her thick black hair. No one knew why the Aratul arrested villagers. They only ever took men and boys, for no reason and seemingly at random. Everyone feared it, but no one could explain it. Though I would never admit this to Mother, I often went to visit Ghana, the oldest woman in the village. We spoke for hours on end about the Aratul, about the legends of Zagerah, about why we were oppressed and why they did this to us. Her husband had been taken 25 years ago. 9 years ago, her son had been taken. Why? Why did they take them? They don't even do anything wrong, I shouted in frustration. Mother stared at me in horror before she walked over and smacked my mouth. Averella, don't say such things. If they heard you say that, they would kill you. I glared at her, left the ladle in the pot, and stormed off to my room. That night, my whole world came crashing down. The Greddy guards of the Aratul stormed inside, knocking things aside, leaving the room cluttered. One of them kicked over the bowl of soup Mother kept warm over the fire. The precious soup formed a puddle on the floor, which another Greddy stepped in. The Greddy rushed towards Gabriel's room. I charged in that direction, reaching for a sword that had belonged to my father. Before I even had a chance to grab it, the Greddy had me pinned to the ground. Mother screamed, shoving at one bulky man from what I could see, but 2 more grabbed her arms. 4 more tore the door to Gabe's room off the hinges, dragging Gabriel through the house and out the door. Mother sobbed hysterically, especially as they dragged us outside to watch them take Gabriel away. I lunged at the men, thrashing and trying to fight them, but they held me back with grips of iron. Gabriel shook his head at me, wincing as they chained his hands to the creature they used to drag prisoners to Zagerah. Even as he coughed and struggled to stay on his feet, they left him there. Despite that his knees buckled and he collapsed onto the ground, he still held my gaze. I realized what he was saying to me. Don't do it. No, please don't. Don't take him, I screamed, violently thrashing against the 2 men that held me back. Gabe just met my gaze and smiled. Then they rode off, taking my brother with them. Jared. The whip flashed once as it snapped out and lashed my target across the back. My lips slid up into a devious smile. I slipped the whip back in its place on my belt and looked back up. Novark had his sword already unsheathed and held it against the man's throat. The man glared up at us as he leaned on his arms for support on the dry, cracked earth. Sweat covered his body, along with thick patches of dirt and grime. Your name, Hinda, our second-in-command, demanded. Gabriel, the man hissed. Age, Hinda sneered down at the prisoner. 24. The man glared up at Hinda as he spoke. Hatred blazed from his dilated eyes. Hinda glanced at Novark. Jared, he called. I zipped to his side in an instant. You do it, he said, smirking at some joke I didn't get. Unsheathing my inquiry blade, I sliced Gabriel's throat, without hesitation or regret. Killing was all I ever knew.